Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2025 Genesis Initial Research Show. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Hopefully you are enjoying the game, but able to tune in, perhaps at halftime or maybe after the game this evening. But thanks for dropping by. How was your waste management? Hopefully you had all of the Thomas Dietrich. It never fails. Whenever I go 100% on somebody, they end up with their worst performance in a year and a half. That's just the way things have gone for me so far in 2025. So we're going to try and turn it around at a course that we did have some success earlier this year. We played a lot of Sam Stevens the week of the Farmers, which turned out very, very nice. I really wish he would have hit the outright as well that week, but not to be. But for yours truly, the waste management was, again, really, really bad. I played all of the Scotty Scheffler T25, which for at his price and his ownership, you can't afford to have a T25. I didn't get much else right either. About the only thing I got right was the mention of Rasmus Højgaard. KH Lee KH Lee made the cut and then didn't pan out. My number one player in the rankings, Andrew Novak, misses the cut. Felt like a lot of plays that I suggested just didn't turn out. So we're going to try and turn it around for the Genesis, a very special Genesis this week, as we'll get into. So let's get into it, shall we? All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally I post research every Monday regarding previous winners of the tournament, some course information, patterns, and all that. Not sure I'm going to be able to do that for this week since the Genesis is not being played at Riviera. So still thinking about what I want to do with that. But normally, if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contests I play. That comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show, so give me a follow over at X if you want to see those pieces of information. And then lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle is in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. Really is a wonderful way to start your week of preparation, and he let us know in his article this week that he is going to kind of increase and add to The Fringe on Wednesday of this week. So you really are missing out if you aren't subscribed to his article. It is free to do, so make sure you're doing that as he's going to begin the process of adding more and more to the Fringe, which is very, very exciting. Looking forward to that. So make sure you are subscribed to that article and go show him some support. Follow him over on social media. And then lastly, for this intro, we are live. Chat's open. I want to hear from you all. Again, how was your waste management? Who do you think your early favorite is for the Genesis this week at a different venue? I can't say new venue, a different venue than Riviera. All of that. How's the Super Bowl going for you? Have you made any wagers on that? Player props, DFS in that regard. We'd love to hear from you all. So put your thoughts and feelings into chat. Would love to hear from you all. And of course, if you're not able to catch a show live, jump into the comments. I will reply there as well. But let's get into it. Let's do our initial research for the 2025 Genesis. And as I alluded to a couple of times, and in case you haven't heard, just due to the unfortunate circumstances surrounding Los Angeles and the Pacific Palisades, Riviera is not able to host the Genesis this year. So we are going back to Torrey Pines for the Genesis. That was announced the week of the Farmers that that Torrey would host the Genesis this year. You see that the tournament fact sheet says the Farmers. Again, we're going to be playing Torrey Pines, so I brought that up. The Genesis doesn't have, or the GCSAA doesn't have the Genesis tournament fact sheet out yet. If it comes out tomorrow, I'll make sure to start the show off with that. But for our intents and purposes, we're going to take a look at Torrey Pines South. Now, a couple of things here. For the Genesis, even though this is a signature event, it is a cut. It is a Masters cut. So top 50 and ties, and anybody within 10 shots of the lead after Friday. So this is a signature event cut, top 50 and ties. And for the farmers, we have a day of Torrey Pines South and a day of Torrey Pines North. That's not going to happen for the Genesis. They are playing all 4 rounds at Torrey Pines South. So Torrey, again, this is a lot of the same stuff as from the farmers. But Torrey Pines South, originally William P. and William F. Bell designed, renovated by Reese Jones in 2019. Torrey is the longest course by par, almost 7,800 yards. Just a brute of a golf course. 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, long, difficult. The rough is always kept long as well, 4 inches thick. Some of the narrowest fairways on tour. Just a brutal, difficult course. Torrey. Some other key info around Torrey. We are on Poa Annua greens. Riviera has Poa Annua greens, so at least the green surface would be the same if they were playing at Riv. But Poa Annua, California Poa Annua greens overseed everywhere else on the course. Fairways, rough. And as I mentioned, this rough, 4 inches long. It is long. It is thick. Very difficult to play out of, and players are going to be playing out of it a lot because the fairways are very narrow. Only 20 acres of fairway. Average fairway width is anywhere between 24 and 27 yards, as you can see there. The average on tour is roughly about 30, 28 to 30 in terms of fairway width. So just narrow fairways, long rough, long course. The greens are small, 5,000 square feet, just a brutally difficult course that Torrey is. 82 bunkers in play, 1 hole with water play, so no water really on the course at Torrey. Hey, good evening, Phil. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you had a better waste management than I did. Mine was very, very disappointing. I played all the Scotty, and he has his worst performance in a year and a half. It is what it is. Dying watching the Super Bowl. Are you a Chiefs fan, or is that more of a monetary dying? Michael Kim. I slightly mentioned him. I don't know. I didn't play him any at all. I slightly mentioned him, and he was rated out high just because of the fact of he's generally a pretty good iron player, and he played very, very well. The one suggestion I think I was highest on, or I guess most proud of, was going for Chiefs, but I live in Dallas. Okay, well, we won't go into the Cowboys situation because that's. But the one player I think I was most, I guess, proud or highest on looking back this week was Rasmus Højgaard. I really felt good giving that suggestion to everybody last week, and he was not very popular at all. So that was a very good pivot in the 9Ks. But I'm hoping you had a better waste management than I did. And if not, we're going to try and turn it around after 2 very poor weeks for the Genesis, which is not at Riviera this year, just due to the wildfires. We are at Torrey. So doing a little bit of review of Torrey this evening, and then we'll dig into the players here momentarily. But coming back to Torrey, there's only 1 hole with water in play. Water is not needed here at Torrey. The course in of itself is difficult enough, and the water on the course guards the 18th green. It stings because it's the most recent. The Sam Stevens hit it in the water on 18 for the Farmers that knocked out any chance at that outright. So I'm not the biggest fan of that water on 18. But there's a look at Torrey. Again, we saw this 2 or 3 weeks ago, so nothing drastic changes. I don't believe there was a single change on the official scorecard that was released. So nothing drastic here. We've seen Torrey, and we've seen it, very recently. So hopefully we'll have some good ideas on how to attack this week. There is a look at the course, and again, if the GCSAA releases the tournament fact sheet tomorrow for the Genesis, I will start the show off with that. But considering we saw this course again a couple weeks ago, they might not. So we'll move to the players in the field this week for the Genesis, and I do want to make a note for you all that some of the players that were on the Aon Swing 5 are in here, like Sam Stevens, like a JJ Spawn, I think. Yeah, Spawn. But somebody like Daniel Berger is not yet this evening. So when Fantasy National updates tomorrow, we will have the full players in there. So just for your information as the viewer, the 5 Aon Swing 5 members, Sam Stevens, Daniel Berger, JJ Spawn, Michael Kim, and Andrew Novak. So Michael Kim's not in here either. I do believe Novak is. Yeah. So we are missing a couple of players from the Aon Swing 5. Let me see here. I know Kazire is not in the field. These are all alternates. So let me star those. Trying to think of any or see about anybody else that is not in the field that jumps off the page. Danny List was given a sponsors exemption or won something. Of course, the biggest name, it was confirmed that Tiger is going to tee it up this week. Nobody's jumping off the page immediately. So anyway, just wanted to give you that information. We are missing a couple players in here. But let's do a quick recap of performance in 2025 in the field this week for the Genesis. The top performers so far early on in 2025, Sepp Straka. No surprise, he's having a fantastic start to the year. Hideki, Russell Henley, Cam Davis, Rory, Morikawa, Spawn, Sungjae, Lee Hodges, and Taylor Pendrith are your top 10 in terms of performance early on in 2025. The Waste Management not in here yet. That'll be in here tomorrow, as you can see. So this might update a little bit. I don't want to go too heavy into course breakdown. We are looking at Torrey Pines here. So the thing with Torrey, it is long. The par 5s are long. You have 564, 615, 621, 570, just long par 5s. And then long par 4s, honestly, as well. 480, 505, 462, 490, a couple in the 450s. Long, difficult course. We've generally had a few holes that are gettable, mostly the par 5s, quarter of a shot under par, 4/10 of a shot under par, the shortest par 5 on the course. 2/10, 2/10. So all the par 5s are generally gettable, but you have a lot of big numbers around here. The long par 4 12th plays to more than a third of a shot over par. Quarter of a shot over par. 2/10, another quarter of a shot over par. So very few scoring opportunities around Torrey, and lots of places where bogeys will come in. This historically for the farmers, your strokes gained by shot type. We did this for the Farmers. I'll reiterate it. You have to be in form with all facets of your game. Approach mainly, just due to the fact that there's that these holes are long, the fairways are narrow, so a little bit off the tee. But players are going to miss greens, so around the green is going to have a factor as well. Move to the top fives. Again, still ball striking, and then for our winners, they're actually hitting it off the tee pretty well, and you would expect making putts. Moving into strokes gained by hole by par, as you would expect, par fives are leading the way there. More par fives, but for the winners historically at Torrey, they've been playing these par threes well. So something we'll keep an eye on. I also have the leaderboard from the Farmers a couple weeks ago. We can take a quick gander at that as well this evening, and we'll really dig into it tomorrow for the Data Dive show. Hole composition at Torrey, 2 very long par threes, over 225. And then the others, medium length and then long, so nothing shorter than I think 177. You got 201, 225, and 227. Long, difficult par threes. There is a short par 4 at Torrey, not necessarily drivable. 389. So not drivable, but certainly a scoring opportunity if players hit it in the fairway. A couple of shorter, but you see the majority of your holes here at Torrey South, 450 to 500 par 4s, 6 of the 10, 1 long par 4, and then the par 5s evenly split to under 600 to over 600. Approach shot distribution, lots of 200 plus approaches, just due to the fact that the pros attack the par 5s in 2 generally because they know that's their best scoring opportunities, and just with the plethora of long par 4s that are here. So 200 plus proximity is generally something we look at around Torrey. No, really have to look at historic cut line. Again, there is a cut this week. It's top 50 in ties and anybody within 10 shots. So it is a Masters cut. But, the cut is a little deceiving just because this is including the North Course from when the Farmers hosts when Torrey hosts the Farmers. They're not playing the North Course at all for the Genesis. So I would imagine that cut is going to be pretty high because the South Course is just difficult. So the players aren't going to be able to pad their scoring on the North Course. And with, what do we have, 72? Let's see. There's 82 entries and 11, so 71, and there's 1 sponsors exemption to be determined. So we do have, I believe, 72 players in the field this week. I'm thinking the cut might be around 7 plus 6 plus 7, maybe something to that effect. We're going heavy bogey avoidance. That would be my guess, Phil. Early on this week, that would be my guess. And of course, I was planning on doing a lot of that tomorrow in the data dive portion, looking at what we did for the Farmers, what worked, what didn't. We can take a slight look tonight, but that was my original plan, was to really dig into that tomorrow. But that would make a lot of sense. If pars are good scores, then you want to find the players who are avoiding bogeys. So I'm that's where I'm at early on this week. Driving accuracy here, very, very small. Players know that they have to have driver. They have to hit it out there, and they're not always accurate. And these fairways are extremely narrow as is, so the accuracy less here by a wide margin. Distance a little higher, only because some courses like Waialae and PGA National and places like that do have some forced layups. Not the case here at Torrey. You hit driver, you hit it as far as you can, as straight as you can. You gotta have to be really good off the tee. So driving accuracy less, distance more, but that's not a fact that players don't care to be in the rough. They do. They just have to hit driver because of how long the course is. Speaking to that, greens, much less than the average tour event here. These greens are small, 5,000 square feet, and further away, so greens aren't easy to hit. Scrambling's not easy around Torrey either. 3 putts per round. Even though these greens are extremely small, or I can't say extremely small, they're not pebble, but even though these greens are small, there's a lot of 3 putts here. POA gets tricky. Poa gets really tricky. And they're generally pretty fast around the Farmers, or around Torrey. So 3-putt avoidance is something. Proximity, further away. These greens are sloped, undulated. POA, it's just difficult. Everything about Torrey is difficult. So here's a look at Torrey Pines from a scorecard graphical view. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to expand this to all of 2024. If Fantasy, there we go. Fantasy National having a tough time probably watching the game. Let's look at long courses. It just makes the most sense since Torrey we know is extremely long. So on long courses, since the beginning of last year, your top performers have been Rory, Scotty, Taylor Pendrith, Hideki, Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Aubert, Thomas Dietrich, Corey Connors, Russell Henley, and Max Homa. And I don't want to spoil this because we're definitely going to start with looking at the weather tomorrow. But if you were subscribed to Gabe, or if you are subscribed to Gabe's article, you would know that he gives a far out or future look at the forecast based on what he's seeing when he writes his article 4 or 5 days in advance. The weather doesn't look great. The weather does not look great for this week at Torrey. I'm willing to bet it's probably going to be difficult. The course in of itself is difficult. We didn't look at difficult for the Farmers because the winds were really, really calm, or at least forecasted to be really, really calm. A little spoiler here. They're not forecasted to be calm. So wind rounds have been difficult relative to par since the beginning of last year, since the century of 2024. Your top performers have been Scotty, Rory, so 1, 2 in both difficult and long courses. Russell Henley, Ludwig Aubert, Batia, Colin Morikawa, Christian Bezuidenhout, Billy Horschel, Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, and Andrew Novak. We could take a look at wind, I suppose. I'm going to do most of that tomorrow. But in 2024, in moderate and windy conditions, how many rounds is this for people? In the teens. It's not a lot. Just know that this is a pretty small sample size, but last year, in moderate and windy conditions, your top performers were Scotty, Adam Scott, Denny McCarthy, Sahith Theegala, Justin Lauer, Jordan Spieth, Russell Henley, Billy Horschel, Sam Burns, and Siwoo Kim. Okay. Well, let's take just a quick gander at the leaderboard from the Farmers. And the reason why we're not doing anything with the tournament history or the strokes gained total tab, this is tied to the Genesis. And the Genesis is at Riviera. So there's nothing really to go on for the Farmers, or for the Genesis this week in terms of tournament history. We'd have to look at the Farmers, and I don't know how to get to the Farmers this. So might be something worth looking at, or I might pull up the show from 2 weeks ago, take a look at some historical performance then of the players to give you an idea. Maybe tomorrow on the Data Dive. Put it in chat or put it in the comments if that's something that appeals to you. But nothing to do with tournament history since it's tied to the tournament, not the course. So let's just take a quick gander at the leaderboard from the Farmers a couple weeks ago. Harris English, Sam Stevens, Novak, Sung Jae was a top 5. Pendrith played very well. Ludwig Ober made the cut. Didn't perform the best because he had the flu. Just trying to think of, look at some others here. Lee Hodges, I think, is in the field this week. I would have to double check that. Lee Hodges, yep. So Hodges played well. Oh, wow, he actually shot a 76 at the North. So he actually played very well on the South course and then goes to the easier course, the North course, and blows up. Interesting. Let's see some other players here. Keegan, there's Dietrich with a top 15, Spawn with a top 15. Not a whole lot of the big names were here and or played well. Like Hideki was very, very middling. J-Day was very, very middling. Do remember one of the bigger things that worked out for me a couple weeks ago was the full fade of Tony Finau. Let's see, Kitayama Pavone missed the cut. I know Finau played. There's Berger, who missed the cut. I'm just going to have to search now. Finau. Yeah, 72, 77. So there's a look at some of the players that stand out who played very well at the Farmers a couple weeks ago. We'll go through a couple of the metrics here. Strokes gained. Let's just do approach. Keep it simple, at least for this evening. Your top approach players in 2025. In the field this week, Sepp Straka, Lucas Glover, Scotty Scheffler, Nick Taylor, Tom Hoge, Colin Morikawa, JJ Spawn, Rory, and Sam Stevens. Definitely do not want to overlook putting. Putting on Poa annua, California Poa annua to be exact. So we're going to take a look first at Pebble Beach. We are going to include Riv, even though that's not where we are this week. Riv has Poa annua, pure Poa annua greens, and of course Torrey Pines South. And we're going to have to go back quite a bit ways here. Yeah, I don't know. 2022 seems okay. So, in the past 3 years, finally, in the past 3 years, your top putters on California Poa annua greens have been Max Homa, Denny McCarthy, Matt McNeely, Tom Hoge, Matthew Pavone, Jason Day, Sung Jae, Seamus Power, Colin Morikawa, and Sam Stevens. Something else that we could look at, let's take a quick gander at the 2021 U.S. Open. That was played here at Torrey. Alrighty. Torrey Pines, it says 2008, but it was the 2021 U.S. Open. We can take a quick gander here at some of the players who played well in that U.S. Open, considering they didn't play the North course at all that week. Now, I don't think it's going to be set up like a U.S. Open, but this gives us a decent idea of what the scoring will probably be like, considering there's no North course. And right off the bat, look there. Harris English, who wins the Farmers this year, also finished third in the U.S. Open in 2021. Colin Morikawa top 5. Berger was a top 10. This is before all of his injuries set in. Scotty, Rory top 10. Russell Henley was a top 15. Who's in the field this week? Cantlay. Again, not an apples to apples comparison because this was a U.S. Open, and I highly doubt that they're going to set it up very difficult like a U.S. Open. But this gives us an idea. I mean, -6 was the winner with no North course factored in. So interesting there. Just because you asked about it, Phil, we'll take a look at bogey avoidance. We'll take a look at bogey avoidance on probably difficult and for long courses. I think that would make some sense. I am going to go all the way back to 2024 because I'm using those filters. So first one, the way I like to go about it, when you have a scoring metric with a scoring filter. So your top bogey avoiders since the beginning of last year, when rounds have been difficult relative to par: Scotty, Rory, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Aubert, Siwoo Kim, Denny McCarthy, Tommy Fleetwood, Russell Henley, and Matt Fitzpatrick. And then if we take a look at bogey avoidance on long courses, Torrey Pines is the longest on tour, or at least by par. Your top bogey avoiders on long courses: Denny McCarthy, Rory, Sam Stevens, Akshay Bhatia, Scotty Scheffler, Ludwig Aubert, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, and Russell Henley. Keith Mitchell is starred because he is an alternate at the moment. Last thing we're going to look at for the evening is we'll take a quick gander at the early look file for the Genesis this week. Now, understand that this is performance at Torrey Pines for the Farmers. So this isn't, again, an apples to apples comparison, because this is players including some of their performance on the North Course from when they play the Farmers. But it's the best we're going to be able to do. I might try to extrapolate some of this tomorrow in the Data Dive show, but just take a very, very quick look at some of the players who have played well at the Farmers. This is not including the 2021 U.S. Open, just letting you all know. Sam Stevens, 3 for 3. Average finish of 19th. He has played the Farmers and Torrey very, very, very well. Rory jumped on almost every single metric we looked at. Taylor Pendrith, 4 for 4. Thomas Dietrich, 3 for 3 here. Zalatoris is 3 for 4. Hideki's 5 for 5. Aubert 2 for 2. And you can really forgive him for this past one. He had the flu. But notice what everybody's doing well at Torrey. They're hitting their irons exceptionally well at Torrey. They're also, the ones that are performing the best are also putting well. So we'll take a long look at putting tomorrow as well. Colin Morikawa, who played the U.S. Open extremely well. One very, very good performance and one bad, considering he's 1 for 2. Keegan Bradley, 4 for 4 here. Sahith Theegala, 4 for 4. Makes some sense. California native, all that. Max Homa, much the same. California guy. Rose. There's Finau, who's 3 for 5. He's missed the cut twice. But generally plays pretty well here. Scotty, not the best around Torrey. Only 1 for 2. Matt McNeely, 4 for 5. So there's a look at a couple of the players, or a few of the players in the field this week and how they've done at the Farmers in terms of performance. But that's going to be really it for the show. I'll bring us back to Fantasy National and go to the strokes gained. That's going to be it for the show. I know it's a little bit shorter, not a whole lot covered this evening, but I need to dig into some more of the data, try to combine some things, try to put it together for you all in a spreadsheet tomorrow. No tournament history here on Fantasy National because it's tied to the tournament, not the course. Of course, we're not at Riviera this week, so nothing to do there. Didn't go through the breakdown too much. I might try to do or look at that tomorrow. Thanks to Phil for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. Some weeks much better than others. Past couple weeks have been really, really bad. So we're going to try and turn it around. At the last course we had some success at early in 2025, and that's the Farmers, that's Torrey. when it was hosting the Farmers. So thanks again for all the support, for all the wagers you made this past week for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, for all the DFS contests you played this past week for the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And until I see you tomorrow night for the Data Dive show, may all your bets be profitable.